Yo, what's up everybody? Jumping here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my very first Monster Hunter World build video. Ever since day one, I've been using the twin blades. I love them. They're definitely my favorite weapon. I've used a bunch of other weapons, but anytime I want to try hard, I always go to my twin blades just because they're really good for single play or for multiplayer. But the build that I'm actually going to be showing you guys today is ridiculous. It is a very good universal build that just provides you with everything you would ever need, honestly, to get through any hard fight in this game. What this build is going to be a non-elemental, meaning that it is universal. You can use it against any monster. You're going to hit them really hard. You're not going to have to switch your element every time you're going to fight something different. That's a really nice perk of the build because I just hate switching constantly. I know that I can just put this on and I'm good to go. I don't need to worry about what monster I'm fighting. I'm always going to do the same damage to every monster. This build also provides insane offense. Your damage is just really crazy. But the best part about the build is the survivability. It has a lot of defensive potential, but the main thing is you're going to have lifesteal. So as you attack with the twin blades, you're constantly restoring your life. It makes you super beefy, really hard to kill, and it's just amazing. It is so good, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Now, before we actually get into the build, I have a question for you. Should I do a noob's guide for Monster Hunter World? I've never done a noob's guide for anything outside of a Souls game, but I've been thinking about it because I really do love this game. I've played it so much. I know so much about it. I definitely can make a really good walkthrough series, and I think a noob's guide would be a lot of fun to do. And it would also allow me to actually do daily uploads. I haven't done daily uploads for a while now. I've been kind of waiting for the new Dark Souls remake. But if I do a noob's guide for this game, that would be pretty cool. And I would do daily uploads again. And it should be just a lot of fun. So let me know, do you want to see that? And also, if you do want to see that, what weapon should I use for that noob's guide? Because clearly, I'll have a main weapon that I'm going to use primarily throughout the series. I'll probably use other weapons as well. But I will have a weapon that will be my go-to main weapon. What weapon should that be? Leave a comment. I'll read all the comments and I'll see what you guys think. And if you want to see this, I'll start working on it as soon as I can. So that is something to keep in mind. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this ahead. I'm going to go to the training area and I'm going to show you what this build can do. And I'm going to show you the setup. Alrighty guys, well I'm in the training room right now and it's time to show off what this build can do. Now just take note that I did actually buff up a little bit. I have a meal going right now, a meal bonus. And I also have a demon drug and an armor skin drug. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because, first of all, I recommend always eating before you go out on a hunt. And I always do, so I don't see the point in showing off the damage without the meal bonus because pretty much everybody should probably eat before they go out on a hunt. And I also use the mushroom strategy to give me a free demon drug and armor skin drug, which I will be showing that a little bit later in the video. But if you don't know about that, it's really nice. You get the free armor skin, free demon drug. The demon drug and the armor skin is going to give you 3% attack and defense. But I also always use demon powder and hard shell powder because these are going to give you 7% attack and 7% defense. If we actually look at my attack, it is 455 and my defense is 516. Defense is definitely really nice because it's going to allow you to actually not be one-shotted by most tempered elder dragons, which is just a thing that happens and it's a real bummer. But having extra defense is always really good. And 516 is pretty freaking awesome. Now let's go ahead and actually attack this pole here and you can actually see some of the damage numbers. The first hit there was a double 66 and the final hit was 78. And obviously I'm not always going to crit with this build because I don't have 100% affinity, but you're going to crit enough to the point where your damage is just absolutely insane. There's no doubt about it. This is the basic attack right here. 62 on that final hit. And yeah, man, the amount of offense you get with this is definitely really nice. And I like it a lot. Now, I will be actually fighting a tempered elder dragon. I'm going to be fighting the zombie dragon. That's what I call him because I don't want to massacre his name. But yes, I'm going to be fighting him later in the video so you can actually see what this build can do against an actual real monster. But understand that besides this really nice DPS that you can pull off with the attacks, you also have lifesteal. So you're going to constantly be regenerating your health depending on your attacks. And because you're attacking so much and so fast, you're just getting your health back super quick and it's just amazing. Now let's actually talk about the equipment and what you need. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Now, the first thing that I'm using is the Diablos' Dual Blade. These Dual Blades are really good. All the Diablos' weapons are just pretty decent. They all have a downside to them, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the upside is that they're non-elemental because they have hidden element. And if you don't activate the element, it is classified as a non-element weapon. So that's really cool. Also, they have extremely high base attacks. The Dual Blade has 322 starting attack, which is just so good. I mean, that's so much better than pretty much every other Dual Blade. The downside to all the Diablos' weapon is that they have negative affinity. Your affinity is your critical hit chance, so when you have negative, it's kind of a bummer. But the Dual Blade only has negative 10, which is not bad at all. Most of the other Diablos' weapons all have like negative 30, which is huge. But negative 10, that's not bad. It also will give you plus 15 defense, which is pretty decent. I definitely like that. Now, the main grind for this build is actually augmenting the weapon. You only really need to augment it once to make this build work, but if you can augment it twice, it's definitely something I would recommend doing. And the augmentation that you want is health regen. That's going to give you the life steal. So as you're attacking, you're restoring your health, and it is really, really good. So that is definitely something that you're going to need to grind for, and hopefully through RNG, you can actually achieve the health regen. If you don't have the health regen, I would still recommend this build, but I wouldn't recommend some aspects of the build just because it's not going to work. Once you actually have the health regen, it's going to be amazing. There's no doubt about it. Now, moving on, for the charm, I'm using the Master's Charm. This charm is really good. I was originally using the attack charm, but I switched it out for the Master's Charm just because I personally think that having extra affinity is better. I did some damage testing. I did a lot of damage testing. And what I determined is going from 4 attack to 7 attack only actually increased my overall DPS and my attack by 1 to 2 damage. It was very minor. And because of that, I definitely would rather have affinity, because if you're missing crits, you're actually missing out on a lot more damage than if you're getting that extra 1 or 2 damage. Even for really heavy hitting weapons like a hammer or something like that, when you're actually increased your attack to 7, for example, you're actually only getting like an extra 10 damage on your big hits. Where if you don't have the affinity for the critical hit chance, you're missing out on tons of damage that you could be getting from critting. With the hammer, for example, if I miss a crit, I lose out on like 100 damage. That's huge. I'd rather guarantee myself of getting the 100 extra damage than getting 10 extra damage. So that's the way I look at it. I think 70% crit is definitely really good. That's really all you need. I do like to go for like 90 to 95% on a heavy hitting weapon, but on a fast weapon, 70% is perfectly fine, because that means 7 out of 10 times I'm going to crit, and I'm constantly attacking. I'm attacking really fast, so most of my attacks are going to be crits, and that's really the main thing. And if you're wondering why it's at 70%, it's because of weakness exploit. Because I'm using that, that's going to boost it by 50% when I attack a weak point. And obviously, you're going to always want it to attack a weak point if you can. And that's going to give you 50% more affinity. So that's really, really good. Now, for the mantle, I'm using the Vitality Mantle and the Rocksteady Mantle. Now, the other things you could use is you could use the Health Booster. That's actually really good with this build. You could also use the Affinity Booster. That will give you 100% affinity for the time that it's out there. You could use the Thunderproof Mantle. You could use the Fireproof Mantle. Really, any mantle to counter a monster that you're about to fight. So yes, there's a lot of things you can do with the equipment, and it's really, really awesome. Now, for the armor, I'm using everyone's favorite eye patch, and this is on pretty much every build now. It's really crazy, but it is the truth. And that is the Dragon King eye patch. This is such an amazing helmet. That's why you see it on every build. It just works so well. It gives you 2 weakness exploit, and remember, that's going to give you affinity, so that's why it's so good. And yeah, it's amazing. It's in rarity 8 armor. It has good defense to it. It gives you a level 3 gem slot. There's a lot I can say about this helmet, but this is definitely probably the best helmet in the entire game. Now, for the chest piece and for the boots, I'm using the Doppler set, which is going to give you attack. The chest piece gives you 2 attack, the boots give you 2 attack, so that's 4 attack, and with 4 attack, you're going to get some extra affinity, which is really good. Now, the reason I was using the attack charm originally was because I wanted to get the 7 attack, but because of my damage testing, like I said, I personally feel like you're better off actually using 4 attack, not having 7 attack, just because that 7 attack was only giving me actually like 1 extra damage or 2 extra damage with this build, and I rather have the affinity from the Master's Charm. Now for the gauntlets and for the belt, I'm using the Vial set. This is a really good armor set. It's going to give you peak performance. Now that's a really great perk for this build because we have lifesteal. So anytime that you're at full health, you're going to get extra attack. And that's great because you're going to be constantly at full health. If you get hit once by something minor, you're going to get your health back in like seconds. If you get hit by something major though, where it's like a big attack, yes, you do probably want to heal yourself with a potion just because it's a lot faster and it's safer. But any type of minor damage that you take, it's not a big deal. You can actually stand in fire or you can be poisoned and you'll just constantly get your health back so fast. It's amazing with this build. And peak performance is a really good perk for something like this. It works amazing. Now we're going to talk about the decorations. And this is where things get interesting because I have multiple versions of this build because I know that some people might not have the same decorations that I have. And I want people to be able to actually go out there and make this build, even if you don't have the decorations that I have. So I'm going to show a couple different versions of this build, but the third one I'm going to show is going to be the one that you can actually achieve this, but it's going to be a little bit not as good, I will be honest, but you can achieve it without actually having some of these gems. Now the first gem is a really easy gem to get, which is the Elementless gem. This is going to make it so that your non-elemental weapons will get extra attack. I believe with this dual blade, it gives me 50 extra attack, which is huge. That's a lot of extra attack. There's no doubt about it. And it is amazing. It is one of the best gems in the game. If you're using a non-elemental weapon, you definitely want it. And the best thing is you can put it on the weapon. So you're not actually like wasting any extra gem slots from your armor. The next gem is going to be the Flawless gem. Now this is actually the one that I feel like some people might not have. It's a rarity 7. It's going to give you peak performance. So that's going to give you peak performance level 3, which is going to give you 20 attack whenever your health is full. I already talked about how it works. It works really good with the build. So you definitely want to have this jewel if you want to actually copy this particular build. But if you don't have this jewel, don't sweat it because I will be showing another version of this that is not using this jewel. So keep that in mind. The next jewel is another really important jewel to have, and I hope that everybody does have it because it works pretty much on every build. It's so good, and that is the Weakness Exploit jewel. This is going to give you 50% more affinity whenever you're hitting a weak point. So that's how I'm getting that 70% critical hit chance when I'm hitting a weak point with this build. Now for the gauntlets and for the belt, one of the best things is that they give you a lot of level 1 gem slots. You actually get 5 from those. That's amazing. So for the gauntlets, I'm using 3 expert jewels. I have like 7 of these, so I don't really think they're that rare. But if you don't have these, don't sweat it. I have another version of this build where I'm not using the expert jewels. But this is going to give you critical eye, which means extra affinity. So my critical eye with this build is 6, and that's really good. It's going to add, I believe, 25% more affinity. I can't remember exactly how much affinity it gives me. It's 25%. I could look at the screen right there. I'm stupid. I am sorry. But yes, 25% more affinity. That's really great. Now, one of the main jewels I'm using, and this is actually really good, and I didn't think about this jewel initially, which is going to be the Medicine Jewel. This is going to give you recovery plus 30% when you have 3 of these in here. Now, what this does is that whenever you're restoring health, meaning drinking a potion, using a health booster, or if you have lifesteal, this will affect that. This will give you more health back as you're attacking. This works really well over pretty much anything else. I tried a bunch of different versions of this build, and I definitely like the Medicine Jewel the most. It just works amazing. You get your health back a lot faster with this, and I definitely recommend using the Medicine Jewel if you have it. It's a pretty common jewel. I have a ton of these, so I'm assuming that it's really not that hard to get, but hopefully you have the 3 expert jewels, the 3 medicine jewels, the weakness exploit jewel, and the main jewel, which is the one I'm afraid that people might not have, is the flawless jewel. But if you have all those, you can easily copy this build, and the main grind is going to be to actually get the augmentation on the weapon itself. That's always the main grind with any of these builds. Next up, I'm going to show a different version of this build, which is your beefy, tanky version of the build. This is the build that should probably never die. Now, with this version of the build, you only have 5% affinity. And with weakness exploit, you're going to have 55% affinity. But I recommend using the affinity booster with this. That way, when you have this out, it's going to give you 100% affinity. The booster will give you 50% affinity whenever you're in it. And if you walk out of it for 20 seconds, you'll keep that 50% bonus. So as long as you keep going back to the booster, walking in it, and walking out of it, you will pretty much have 100% affinity, meaning that every single hit that you do to a weak point is going to crit. And that is amazing for sure. That's really the only difference with this version of the build. The armor is the same and everything else is the same. The decorations are slightly different because remember, this is the tank version of the build. This build is pretty ridiculous. I'm not using the expert jewels, but instead I'm using the vitality jewels. This is going to give you 50 extra health, so that means you'll have 200 health. If you're fighting anything that you're afraid might one-shot you or just something really powerful, definitely try this out. It works really good. You're not going to die. Like, if you die with this build, it's not possible. I don't think so. I mean, as long as you're attacking and you're playing the build right, you should not die with this version of the build just because you have all that health. You have that recovery. You're going to constantly get your health back. It's super, super good. So I wanted to show that just because that's a beefy version of the build. Although there's one last thing I want to talk about as well. I forgot to mention. Because you have all these level 1 gem slots, you can do a lot with this. So if you're fighting something that has like a fire attack, you can go for fire resistance, water resistance, ice resistance. You can go for dragon resistance, thunder resistance. You can actually go for blight resistance. There's a lot of cool things you can do. If you're going to fight the zombie dragon guy, you can go ahead and put these on and he can't actually debuff you anymore. So it's really nice to have these extra jewel slots. And normally I do take out the expert jewels if I'm going to fight something that I want to resist. So that's another thing you can actually do with this build, and I wanted to mention that. Next up, I'm going to show you the version of this build that does not actually require the flawless jewel. Now with this version, it has a 1% affinity. That's a 51% affinity when you're attacking a weak point. So once again, I recommend the affinity booster. This is going to give you that 100% affinity when you're attacking a weak point for however long this is out on the field. So this is definitely really nice. Now, the big difference with this is the charm. I am using the Unscathed charm. This is the peak performance charm. It's really easy to get as long as you're farming Val. You just have to keep fighting him. I think you got to get his gem a couple times or something. But if you're farming him, you should be able to actually make this charm no problem. It's going to give you that peak performance level 2. And with the armor, that's going to be peak performance level 3. Now, the other difference with the armor is going to be the Nergigante belt. This is going to give you 2 attack. And it's a really nice belt for sure. Now, technically, you could probably switch this up a little bit and go for the critical eye instead if you want. But with this version, I believe it has 6 attack. And if you want, you could put your attack jewel in there and everybody has 1 attack jewel and then get the 7 attack. So it's up to you on how you want to do it. Do you want to go ahead and get the critical eye? Do you want to have the 6 attack? It's just up to you. Now, don't really worry too much about the jewels because I have some jewels in here that you might not have. They're not really important though. Mind's Eye is actually really nice, I gotta be honest, especially for a dual blade. But I don't use it on my main build, so I don't really recommend it. You don't have to have it. Same with the critical jewel. You don't have to have this. I just have this in here for fun. But what I do is I use 2 expert jewels and I use 2 recovery jewels on this version of the build. Because, like I said, the main thing here is you don't actually have to have the flawless jewel. I personally feel like you do want to have the weakness exploit jewel. That's just so important. And that's important for like every build in this game to have the Dragon King eye patch or the Rathalos chest piece or there's a pair of gloves in the game that will give you weakness exploit. You want to have 2 weakness exploit and then have the jewel to get the 3 weakness exploit because it's such a powerful perk. It's probably the best perk in the entire game. So this is a jewel that is really needed. So hopefully you have it or yet you can get it. But everything else is really easy. Like I said, don't worry about Mind's Eye or the critical jewel. You can put anything in here. It does not matter. You can put level 1s in here. You can put the 3 experts and the 3 recovery if you want. Or you can like switch it up. It's up to you. But this is a version of the build that does not require the flawless jewel. Alrighty guys, so that's going to pretty much do it for the build. Now we're going to go and fight a Tempered Elder Dragon, and you're going to see for yourself on how good this build really is. It's so easy to stay alive, and on top of that, it has amazing offensive potentials. So, it's going to be crazy. Alrighty, well it's time to actually take out this Tempered Elder Dragon. Now before I actually start this fight, I'm going to buff myself with my mushrooms. If you don't know about this, there's a perk called Mushroom-mancer. If you want to actually do this, it's really easy. You just need this ugly pig helmet, and you need the charm for Mushroom-mancer. There's also a jewel for it as well. But you can eat some mushrooms, and the best ones, by far, is going to be Nitro Shroom, Toadstool, and also Parashroom. This one right here will also give you a max potion, which I actually need a little bit of extra health. I believe Blue Mushroom might heal poison. And Excite Shroom, it gives you a random buff, but you don't really need it at all. Now, what you want to do if you're going to actually do this is you want to have your loadout. So you just load back up your main loadout. And also the item box, I always have a separate loadout for mushrooms and my normal loadout as well. Alright, so now we can actually go out there, and you keep all the buffs. And the best thing is you get Demon Drug for free, Armor Skin Drug, you also get a free Dash Juice, which is really good for this build because that's your stamina recovery, or stamina. It's going to half your stamina consumption, which is really good with dual blades, obviously. And also you get some life recovery as well, which is just great, just because that's going to work well with peak performance and just this build in general. So let's go ahead and load up my Flash Pod now, and we're going to get ready to buff up. I do like to have this guy come more to the middle before I engage him, because if I engage him down there, he is going to jump into that water, and that's really annoying. Let me get this Nullberry. Now, what would be a really good idea is to actually go ahead and just try to counter his stuff by putting the gems in. That would be great, and that's something I normally do, especially with a group of friends or a group of randoms if I'm fighting this guy. But I'm not going to do that because I personally feel like I want to show off the full potential of this build, and I don't want to mix it up too much. Now, the main attack with the Twin Blades, by far, the super main attack that you're going to do is going to be your Triangle Circle move. It does just insane DPS. It's super good. But here's the deal. It does leave you open, and it is really spammy, obviously. Your triangle attacks are really good because they don't actually leave you open. But check this out. I'm going to just tank right through this, right? He's going to hit me. He's going to half my health. I don't care. But look, this build should be actually called Zero Fucks Given, because, like, legit, you just don't care, like, a lot of times. Like, you can be killed, obviously. Like, it is something that can happen. It's not like you're immortal or invincible, but it is just great for just not dying. Like, I'm just getting my health back so fast, and he's constantly hitting me with stuff. Like his stupid, like, constant damage. It's just constantly taking my health down. But because of the life regen, I don't care. Like, I really don't. One attack, and I'm back up to full health. No problem. And my DPS is just really, really good against him. I can kill him pretty freaking fast. He's sucking my life away, I think, now. I don't care. Suck away, bro. It does not matter. Now, by the way, I do want to make a bunch more build videos. I have a bunch of builds right now for this game of different weapons. The next build video I do want to do is going to be a physical hammer build. It's my second main build I use all the time. I love it. It's so much fun. So that is something that if you guys want to see, let me know. Oh, he done goofed. When he goes for that attack, he's just leaving himself open. Anytime he does his breath attack, as long as you avoid it or you're like right by him, close to his stomach. His stomach is his main weak point I like to take advantage of. But anytime he does that breath attack, he's going to take a lot of damage from you for sure. Obviously, another thing with this build, sharpness can be a problem. You're going to blow through it super quickly just because you're attacking so much. I could go for the head here. I don't think I'm going to bother. Normally, when I'm doing live commentary, I always play a lot worse. I feel like everybody does, honestly, just because your brain is not thinking about the fight. You're thinking about what you're talking about. Now, once the Rocksteady goes away, I can put Vitality Mantle on, and this is great. Vitality Mantle for this is fantastic. Health Booster is really good, too, and Affinity Booster, but Vitality Mantle is good because if I need to recover my health, especially, I'm not going to take any more damage, and I'll just recover my health. I mean, that's it. Every time I hit, I'll get back up to full health in no time, and I can get that extra damage from peak performance going, and it definitely helps a lot. Right there, he broke my mantle, of course, because, you know, that tail attack is probably his best attack he has. I'll be honest with you. Like, that is one of his best attacks. And Rocksteady is just OP. You know, I see people commenting in videos about how they should nerf it. And I'm like, really? Really? All right, so right there, he hit me. And sometimes when you get hit, it is a good idea. like, I don't think I needed to use a potion there. But if you take a lot of damage, it is always a good idea to not say, okay, I'm down to like 5% of my health. I'm just going to go in there and attack and attack and attack and I'll be good. Okay, so you're going for this right here? That was stupid. That's going to leave me open. All right, and luckily I didn't get hit. But you got to be careful about like spamming this flurry move. It's definitely the best move, like I said, and it's the main move. But at the same time, like, it can get you hit. It definitely can. But anyway, like I was saying, don't be stupid. Like, if you're really low in health, just go heal with a potion. With that extra recovery, like, you actually restore so much of your health with a mega potion. It's like well over maybe 70% of your health you can restore with a mega potion. So that's freaking awesome. He's going to try to run here. I could flash pot him. Will he get away? Oh, no, I don't think he's getting away from me. My sharpness is just dead right now. It's really bad. But once again, remember the name of the build, guys. Oh, he's still trying to run. All right. Screw you. The name of the build is Zero Fucks Given. Like, I don't care. I just don't. Like, you hit me all you want. I can always heal with a potion if I really need to. Especially when I have my mantles going. Oh, you're going to try to suck? Really, dude? I don't even have that crappy effect on me right now. That does nothing to me. That was a bad choice. And he's dead. Okay, so, as you can see, it's pretty freaking good for sure. The amount of DPS is just amazing. The amount of health regen that you can get is awesome. The defense is great. That's why I like the build so much. It combines a really nice amount of offense with a good amount of defense, which you definitely do want for tempered Elder Dragons and hard fights. I definitely do recommend trying out this build if you can. The main grind, like I said, is going to be to get the augmentations so that you can actually go ahead and finish the build with the health regen. But once you have one health regen, the build will work, but it's not going to be as good if you don't have two, so keep that in mind. But anyway, that's going to pretty much do it for the video. I really hope you have enjoyed it and that it has helped. If it has, will you please like the video for me? Be sure to subscribe for future videos. And I really do hope that everyone has a very nice day and peace out.